Welcome to my channel. My name is Benjamin Poole, one of the head traders at Verified Investing, and I'm going to go over a couple different stocks that are continuing to move higher. The volatility in these stocks are kind of starting to wane a little bit. So for me, this looks like the buying pressure is starting to wane, which could lead to an opportunity for a great shorting level. What we have to do as traders, though, is be responsible and make sure that we get the entry level that we want and not jump in a little too early. Just like when we're doing any kind of fitness, the key to anything is not only consistency, but having discipline. The nice thing about discipline is if you do it over and over and over again, it no longer requires the willpower associated with that discipline. It just comes naturally. So when you're getting into stock trades or you're getting into fitness, make sure that you stick with the discipline that you've set for yourself and do not deviate from it. So I'm going to show you how to do that in the stock charts. So the first one I'm going to go over is WDC. Let me go ahead and add this to the stage. Okay, so WDC has been a powerhouse as of late. One thing that I like to do is anytime I'm looking at a stock chart, I like to look where support and resistance is. If a stock is heading higher, the resistance level is what's going to be key for my potential shorting opportunity. So WDC has this low pivot from the 31st of July in 2025, has a secondary pivot point on the 2nd of October. So what you do to draw a trend line is take this pivot here, extend it through this pivot, and look at where this takes us. This takes us all the way up to about $169, $170. So for me, this is the first shortable level for a swing trade. Another thing that I like to look at is what's going on with the volatility, as well as what's going on with the relative strength index. So if you don't know anything about the RSI or the relative strength index, it is a momentum indicator. I often see stocks that get up to the 70, lose volatility, and stay and chop around the 70. What that tells me is that this is a relatively strong stock because it's hovering around the 70, indicating that buyers are still willing to pay up for this and drive the price higher. And in WDC, that is what's continuing to happen. So again, my upside target for a short is $170. Look at what happened with the RSI. RSI from this 28th of August got above the 70, drop below slightly. Look at the volatility. The volatility actually dried up, meaning that there's not enough sellers pushing the stock price down. And so the RSI actually got all the way up to about the 90 on the RSI. It did fall back, never got below the 70. The volatility started increasing a little bit, got a little bit of a pullback. The RSI still stayed close to the 70, meaning that it was still above the 50, indicating that the buyers are still willing to pay up for WDC. And that, as you can see, the price action headed even higher. So what this means is we are now looking for the next resistance level to potentially open a swing short. Now that the RSI is back above 70 with this interim volatility, with this price action heading higher, this gives us an opportunity to take advantage of the potential profit takers that are coming into the markets. And so we set it at a resistance level. Now what I'm going to do is, now that we've identified a potential swing trade opportunity for a short, identified the relative strength index, the volatility. And when I mean volatility, I'm looking for about a 17 to 20% pullback. And then on the upside moves, look at this. You're getting a 48% move from the lows. That is volatility in a short amount of time. So that's why I like that 170 level. Now what we want to do is see where the stock is going to be trading tomorrow. So I'm going to go to the intraday chart on the 1 minute time frame. I'm actually going to remove the VWAP, clean up the charts a little bit, and take off the extended trading hours. Okay, so this is more of a clean chart. What I look for in this particular stock, or any stock, is I love to dive into the 1 minute time frames to see where the price action was sitting in the market hours and where the RSI was sitting. We did have a little bit of a breakdown in the morning session. So this is where price action was at 9 o'clock in the morning. It dropped 2%, got a little bit of a bounce, got to the break even, dropped about 3%. And then look at the RSI. It never got below the 30, Price action propelled this higher. The RSI stayed close to the 70 as the price action was continuing to climb. It actually got to $165. I actually decided for a day trade, and this was only for a day trade. I'm not looking to swing trade this quite yet. I day traded this at $165.20. And the reason that I was able to nail that top was because the volatility, although it was drying up, it started putting in additional peaks, and it was a key round psychological number. So what I look for is price action to head up into a whole round number, and $165 is a key psychological level that if I were in this trade and I was looking to take profits and it was already above $160, where is the next potential level for me to take profits? And in this stock, it was $165. And so I think if I'm willing to take profits at $165, taking that profit from 160, 165, then there are other people who are also willing to take profits at that level, which then we could take advantage of that, the selling pressure, and ride that down. I took about $500 because it was an afternoon trade and some of these stocks can really rally to the upside. However, I did end up nailing the top. It did go up a little bit, but only about 20 cents to the upside. Now, WDC looks like it's going to continue higher tomorrow. So I am looking for that 170 level. And the reason that I think the WDC is going to continue higher tomorrow is look at this buying pressure. So as soon as you took out a high pivot point, it has never taken out a low pivot point. Until price action gets below $156, the bulls are still in control. Even though people are still willing to take profits at 165, there are still a lot of people who are bullish on this and willing to catapult this even higher. So where's the next psychological number? $170. Plus the RSI is indicating we're still in a bullish setup without the RSI. I mean, without price action breaking below that low pivot. I'm not willing to go long. What I'm doing is I'm playing the inverse of that. So I don't want to follow people into the markets when they are going into euphoria. And so that's why that 170 level is where I'm targeting. Okay. SNDK. SNDK used to be part of WDC. So a long time ago, I think it was 2016, WDC bought SanDisk. Now WDC does hard drives. SanDisk has now has gotten away from WDC and is its own entity. So it's its own publicly traded company. And so it actually does like thumb drives and stuff like that. And so it's actually a separate company, even though people still think or associate it with WDC. SanDisk is another chart that is going catastrophic to the upside. People are really bullish on this. And so it's pushing price even higher. Like in the last chart that I was mentioning to you, the RSI can stay up in the 70 for an extended period of time. What I like to look for is volatility. In this stock, like I said, I like to look for about 16, 17% pullback. We had about a 15% pullback, which isn't significant. Another pullback right here, about a 12 to 15% pullback, not a significant move on SanDisk. And look at the RSI. Momentum indicator indicating that this is still a really strong stock. And so for me, I had a shortable level right here at about 105, 110 bucks. It did drop a little bit, came back in, and now I'm looking for about $123 to $125. And the reason that I'm looking for that level for a swing trade, not because it has volatility, but because it's got this upsloping trend line. When price action gets up to that trend line, it is likely to break through it. As soon as price action breaks through an upsloping trend line, bulls will jump on board thinking this is now broken out. That is when some institutional selling can take place and really drive that price to the downside. So again, not a ton of volatility in SanDisk right now. However, you do have this upsloping trend line that has a lot of resistance. And so $123 to $125 is where I'm looking at for a day trade tomorrow. For a swing trade, I'm actually going to hold off on this until we start getting some volatility. It's still a strong stock. Going back from the 3rd of September all the way until today, the 5th of November, a couple months, it's been staying around the 70. The buying pressure has waned a little bit, so we could start to be getting into more of a top. But again, for a swing trade, I'm not super interested. What I do want to do is take a look at the intraday time frame. I'm going to go ahead and remove the VWAP on this and get rid of the extended trading hours. And so that way I can show you why I'm still bullish on this going into tomorrow, into those support levels or those resistance levels. Look at what I was mentioning on WDC. SanDisk did have a nice move to the upside. It peaked on the RSI at around 940, got a little bit of a dip, created some negative RSI divergence, sold off, but then look at what happened. The RSI never got to the 30. Price action just continued to float up, took out this high pivot as the RSI was getting to the 70. And that's what I look for. Price action continued higher, got up to $118, and then price fell a little bit. The RSI then catapulted down to the bottom, down to the 30. Same with WDC though. It never took out any low pivots. If it doesn't take out any low pivots, the bulls are still in control, going to push this a little bit higher tomorrow. And that's what it's looking like it's doing in the pre-market. It's trading at $218. Something that another point that I'm looking at for tomorrow is this upswing trend line. So if you connect this low pivot to this low pivot, see this trend line? We started to try to break down this down below this upswing trend line on the daily time frame or the intraday, the 1 minute time frame. So when price action gets back above, it will put the bulls back on board, pushing it all the way to this upswing trend line. And it could get up to, again, $123 to $125. Now, doesn't mean it can't go to $130, but think about this psychologically. If you're in this trade and you're long, where are you taking profits? You're not going to wait for 230. You're going to wait for a $225 Pierce. And the reason is because our brains are conditioned to look for quarter numbers. So 25, 50, 75, 100, whole round numbers. And so when it's this close to $100 or $225, you are likely to take profits. And I'm not saying you specifically. I know I am likely to take profits at that level because it just sounds like a great number to take profits and wait for a pullback. So that's what I have for you guys. Thank you so much for watching, and thanks for subscribing. If you guys like what you're seeing, please make sure you're subscribing to the channel. I'm going to try to do these at least 2 to 3 times a week to provide a little bit of insight so you can take advantage of the setups going into the following or the next day based on what happened in today's price action. So guys, have a great rest of your day. We'll see you guys next time in the charts. Take care.